The Mosaic Covenant, also known as the Sinaitic Covenant, refers to a biblical covenant between God and the biblical Israelites, including the proselytes. The establishment and stipulations of the Mosaic Covenant are recorded in the first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible, which are traditionally attributed to Mosaic authorship and collectively called the Torah, and this covenant is sometimes also referred to as the Law of Moses, a Mosaic law of the 613 Mitzvot. Historical critical scholarship. Scholars have examined the sources of the Mosaic Covenant, including those within the Pentateuch. In the mid-20th century, George Mendenhall advanced comparisons of the covenant with agreements in nearby cultures. Scholarly theories. The concept of a covenant began long before the biblical era, specifically the beginnings of Israel. According to George E. Mendenhall, covenants were originally established as legal customs and then later were replicated in the field of religion. These covenants were created on the basis of an oath, a promise between two parties followed by performance. Engaging in an oath implied that if one side were to default, God would consequently ensure they receive proper punishment. Such covenants assured that either blessings or curses be enacted in response to the circumstances. However, in addition to the legal influence in regards to the creation of covenants, Mendenhall also addresses the theory behind blood ties and the significance to the concept of a covenant. As stated in the Bible, Abraham, Isaac and Jacob are the descendants of Israel, and because of the shared blood, they consequently form a bond. This blood tie is compared to the tie that is established by a covenant, and implies that without the shared blood, covenants would be the only way to ensure such unification of a religious group. Furthermore, Mendenhall notes two additional theories noting how covenants may have begun with the work of Moses, or are even thought to have been established during a true historical event with a valid setting. Regardless of the theories, the creation of covenants may be a mystery to scholars for centuries to come. However, the use of covenants evidenced throughout the biblical sources is an undeniable fact. According to Mendenhall, the covenant was not just an idea, but actually a historical event. This event was the formation of the covenant community. Wandering the desert, the clans left Egypt following Moses. These people were all of different backgrounds, containing no status in any social community. With all these circumstances, they formed their own community by a covenant whose text turned into the Decalogue. The Israelites did not bind themselves to Moses as their leader though, and Moses was not a part of the covenant. Moses was just seen as a historical figure of some type sent as a messenger. The Israelites followed the form of the Suzerainty Treaty and were bound to obey stipulations that were set by Yahweh, not Moses. In addition to Mendenhall's input and perspective, Weinfeld argues that there are two forms of covenants to have occurred throughout the Old Testament. 1. The obligatory type, and 2. The promissory type. These translate to a political treaty as evidenced by the Hittite Empire, and a royal grant as shown through the covenants tied to Abraham and David. A treaty entails a promise to the master by the vassal and ultimately protects the rights of the master. This consequently works in a manner that promotes future loyalty of the vassal, since the suzerain had previously done favors for them. A grant, on the other hand, pertains to an obligation from the master to his servant, thus ensuring protection of the servant's rights. This method of covenant emphasizes focus on rewarding loyalty and good deeds that have already been done. Weinfeld supports his characterization of a treaty by identifying the parallels exposed through the covenant between Yahweh and Israel. Similarly, he utilizes the Abrahamic and Davidic covenant to reveal its correspondence with a royal grant. In spite of the numerous theories revolving covenants in the ancient Near East, Weinfeld ensures his readers that the covenants exposed in the Old Testament fall beneath one of the two plausible types he has identified, either an obligatory type or a promissory type. In an article comparing covenants and forms of treaties common at the time, Mendenhall focuses on Hittite suzerainty treaties. These treaties, established between an emperor and inferior king, were defined by several important elements. The treaties were based on past aid or good fortune that the suzerain had previously delivered unto the vassal and the obligations that the vassal, therefore, had to the suzerain. This foundation for a treaty relationship is similar to the foundation for the Mosaic Covenant and the Decalogue. According to Mendenhall, God had delivered the Israelites from Egypt in the Exodus, and they therefore are obligated to follow the commandments in the Decalogue. Is the vassal. God has no further obligations towards the Israelites, but it's implied that God will continue to protect them as a result of the covenant. Judaism. In the Hebrew Bible, God established the Mosaic Covenant with the Israelites after he saved them from slavery in Egypt in the events of the Exodus. From it is derived the Ten Commandments. The Mosaic Covenant played a role in defining the Israelite kingdom, and subsequently the southern kingdom of Judah and northern kingdom of Israel, and Yehud Medinata and the Hasmonean kingdom, and the Bar Kokhba revolt, and Rabbinic Judaism c. 2nd century to the present. Rabbinic Judaism asserts that the Mosaic Covenant was presented to the Jewish people and converts to Judaism and does not apply to Gentiles, with the notable exception of the 7 laws of Noah which apply to all people. Christianity. The Mosaic Covenant, which Christians generally call the Old Covenant, in contrast to the New Covenant, has played an important role in the shaping of Christianity and been the source of serious dispute and controversy since its inception, such as Jesus' expounding of the law during his Sermon on the Mount, the circumcision controversy in early Christianity, and the incident at Antioch which has led scholars to dispute the relationship between Paul of Tarsus and Judaism. The Book of Acts recorded that after the ascension of Jesus, that is the first Christian martyr Stephen was killed in a controversy over which he was accused of speaking against the Jerusalem temple and the Mosaic Law. Acts 6-8-14. Later, in Acts chapter 15 verses 1-21, the Council of Jerusalem addressed the circumcision controversy in early Christianity.